See the picture of Halapoulivaati Vaitai, you know it can only mean one thing. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles show on a beautiful Friday at noon. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, ready to race through and conclude free agent Quacketology. We will crown a champion as the free agent signing who we think is most likely to be inked by the Eagles next week. Zach, how you doing?
Doing great. Excited for the show. Can't wait for next week. I love this time of year.
It's the time of year when I've had to set the tweet notifications for Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, and Mike Garafolo and the Eagles on my phone.
Shout out to Mike G. I'm very loyal to him among those three. But this is, well, all of them I respect. But this is a big week. And by the
Eagles,
end
you don't.
The Eagles are year round.
I know, I'm kidding.
Yeah, your notifications. But by this time next week, by Friday next week, the composition of the Eagles roster will look different. And so this has been a fun week of shows, narrowing it down. We got we identify the one most likely today, but this is such a hard exercise because it's contingent upon X, Y, and Z, right? You have all these rumors. You never know if you're being misled, if it's a whisper down the lane campaign where this person talked to this person who talked to this person, and by the time it gets to you, it's just like they're all repeating information that's not maybe direct, right? So eager to see what happens, eager to report it and write about it and discuss it.
Well, that is what makes this week so great. And we have talked about this in the past, but like the next week of the NFL calendar is more than any other week during the year when the Eagles are going to tell us the truth.
Yes, exactly.
Like what they think. Even during the draft, like there are a little bit too many variables. You may not get the player you want. You may not get exactly the value you were hoping for. In free agency, we are going to find out what they think about the construction of the roster, like the decisions about long-term, like on offense and defense, how they want to split the investment there, like what they think of specific players, where they prioritize their resources. Like we are going to learn what they think and like how much do they push their chips to the table? Do they think this is a chase a Super Bowl year? Is it like we need to spend $10 million on a linebacker, or we're going to do something crazy at running back? Like they are going to tell us the truth because they have the ability to sign almost anybody.
Yep. And
if there are things that they prioritize, they can pay more than everybody else in the league. Everybody is available to everybody. Like there's no lying about their intentions. This is when they will tell us what they think.
That's a terrific point. And you've made that in the past, and every time you say it, I say you're absolutely right, because this is the week where it's like, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. Because they could tell you they have confidence in Nakobe Dean, but if they sign two linebackers, they don't have confidence in Nakobe Dean, right? And like last year, they had confidence in Nakobe Dean. They didn't touch the linebacker position. That was them showing it. If they spend big money on an edge rusher, right? It tells you, if they sign Bryce Huff, right? It tells you maybe what they think about Nolan Smith's development curve a bit. I mean that might be a stretch, but
I think that one is a little bit different because you need three, and they're both Huff and Smith are probably rotational players anyway. But yes,
this is a better one. I don't think they do this, but if they sign a right guard, it tells you they don't think Tyler Steen's ready to play. Right, and so they can say all they want about confidence in this, confidence
if they
in
don't
that.
Prioritize safety.
Yep,
that tells us that they expect Blankenship and Sidney Brown to be the pair for a while.
Well said. Yep.
Wide receiver will tell us a little bit, just generally how they split the focus on offense and defense. Howie Roseman basically intimated that they want to get younger on defense at the combine. We'll see if that turns out to be true. Like if they sign Justin Simmons and Levante David, who they're not going to sign, but like older guys as Patrick, then that means he wasn't telling the truth about that. So We are going to go through this exercise to predict what we think is the most likely thing to happen. But what is great about this is that soon we will actually find out. There's no having to talk to people in the building and report about what we think they think. Like, this is them putting their money where their priorities are.
And the last thing to add there, because like you mentioned Justin Simmons, there was the 2016 free agency when the Eagles jump out right away and they sign. Obviously they signed Brooks and McLeod, but for the purpose of this discussion, they signed Nigel Bradham and Leotis McKelvin and Ron Brooks. And it's like, okay, Jim Schwartz has a lot of sway here, right? Jim Schwartz is bringing in his guys. And so if the Eagles signed Justin Simmons and Andrew Van Ginkel, it's like, this is Vic Fangio running the show in terms of the defense. Yeah.
Before we get going, Zach, the chat is all a flutter. They want to know if you have ever seen Dragon Ball Z.
Never in my life. I've heard of it, but I couldn't. If you put 4 dragons on the screen right now, I couldn't tell you which one Dragon Ball Z is. Dragon Ball Z a dragon?
It's the name of a show. It's an anime show.
Yeah,
I've only seen a few episodes.
I've never seen anime in my
life, but
I've never watched. I hear people who are into anime. I don't know what
hentai.
Don't know what that is. The only anime I think I saw, and shout out to both these guys because I'm friends with both of them. But there was something created when Les Bowen and Jeff Jeff McClain had like
that's not anime. That is that's the Korean just animation.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
That's not anime.
So then I take that back. So yeah. So I have no idea what this topic of conversation is, but I imagine the chat wouldn't be surprised by that. I'm very transparent about
I get the chat asking, but like you knew the answer to that.
Yeah.
I mean, of course Zach has not seen that.
Yeah, I'm transparent about what I know and what I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's get going because we got a lot to get to here. So we move to the secondary region, the second round. L'Jarius Sneed or Xavier McKinney, probably the 2 best players on the market at their respective positions. Sneed has been franchise tagged by the Chiefs, so it would require a trade to acquire him. Xavier McKinney, young, can do it all, probably going to cost a significant amount of money.
Yeah, between these two, I would go with Xavier McKinney. First off, there's an obstacle in the way of
Taiwanese,
Sneed.
By the way.
Okay.
As Threat Level Midnight corrects me on the animation.
There's an obstacle in the way of Sneed because you have to give up a 2nd round pick for him. Or you have to give a valuable draft pick for him. So I would say that McKinney, obviously safety position of need, 24 years old. We don't know what that contract's going to come in at. It could be expensive. It could be price prohibitive for the Eagles. But I see, I think that's if they are going to make a splash and they make a splash at safety, then McKinney fits a lot of things that the Eagles would like in terms of age profile, play profile. And I don't know McKinney, but from what I hear, personality profile will be pretty good too.
Yeah, I am so fascinated about the safety decision that they're going to make, and I am like twisting myself into a pretzel about what I think they're going to do because there are so many guys available. There are like 15 guys who could come in and be a day 1 starter for the Eagles at safety.
That's true.
And if that's the case, just gaming it out, like game theory wise, does it make sense to pay for Xavier McKinney when you can get, Geno Stone for half the price, or you can get Justin Simmons or Eddie Jackson for half the price on a short-term deal? And if you don't commit the money to Xavier McKinney, does that mean you can spend more at linebacker where there's also a good amount of options, but fewer, or on offense where maybe you get a little bit more bang for your buck? And with Sneed, it is going to be really hard to find an answer for them at corner, and Sneed is like the one guy who could be that. Now there are some, Marshawn Lattimore they're talking about could get traded this offseason. There are a couple other trade candidates, but I think if the Eagles are going to do something at corner, it's going to be something major like Sneed or Lattimore. Whereas, I'm sure that they like Xavier McKinney. I don't know if I think that they're going to go at the very top of the market at a position where there are so many options.
That's a valid point, and there are so many options, like you said, young, old, in between. So are you leaning towards...
Do you need the list of...
Yes, that's what... Yeah.
Okay.
That's what she was
Well, the
messaging
Wi-Fi
us.
in here is not great. I'll see if I can.
So, are you of the opinion that?
I think you sent it to Chris.
Yes.
Well, it's just like it goes by who's been bolded. Yeah. Okay.
Sneed.
Sorry.
No problem. Do you think Sneed's a realistic option here?
I kind of do.
Okay.
Because I think if you do Sneed, he's 27, right? You trade for him, and that is like a big bulk of your cap space to spend.
And then you're not drafting a cornerback early.
You don't have to draft a corner. And Ringo is your young corner, and there's still going to be enough money to find guys at safety and linebacker. I'm on the fence here. I think I would kind of lean Sneed, except that, as you said, like the obstacles to it happening are a little bit greater.
Now, the Eagles historically have been big players in the free agent market at corner. They signed Namdi to a top of the market, the highest paid corner. They signed Byron Maxwell. That was not with Howie, but that was like a telegraphed move. They signed Asante Samuel. They wanted Byron Jones. They didn't get Byron Jones, but they trade for Slay, and they pay him. So the history show, the Eagles historically don't pay top of the market at safety. We know they don't pay top of the market at linebacker. If they're going to pay top of the market at a position, it's going to be edge rusher. We know that, or corner.
Yeah.
If Sneed was completely free, I would say Sneed here.
He can also play inside, and so there's a path to being able to get, like, if you really love Ringo and you get good health luck, like you can have Sneed and Ringo and Slay on the field at the same time.
And my point here was you have to give up that second-round pick. They have 2 second-round picks, so you're still not operating at a deficit. Like, you'd still have a first, a second, and a third.
I think this would require trading Reddick.
Interesting.
I think if you're getting draft capital back for Reddick,
yes,
you can flip something for Sneed, and then probably, like, there are also lots of options on the edge, and so you can backfill Reddick that way. I see that as a realistic path.
And like there aren't great corners on the market for them. The top corners are usually signed. And by the way, in that exercise that we were discussing in terms of, or not the exercise, the historical precedent, the Eagles were going hard after Jalen Ramsey. The Jags took the Rams off for that year. But the Eagles have shown they're willing to pay huge for a corner. So
the thing that would concern me is it's not like L'Jarius Sneed has been a number one corner for 3-4 years running, right? This is a relatively recent thing.
He might not have been the best corner on his team last year.
Right, and cornerback performance is a little bit unsticky year to year. Like, and we talked about, he led the league in penalties for corners last year. Like, it is not a guarantee that he's going to come in and translate and be a lockdown corner right away, which is probably why I guess I would lean McKinney. Like, I think the Eagles would be probably more interested in trading for Marshawn Lattimore. That feels like more of a Howie move.
You're right, but for the sake of this exercise, I wouldn't push back and say you bowled me into a corner if we want.
I'm not. Well, now the more we talk it, I'm more now leaning McKinney.
Okay. I mean, there's just less of an obstacle for McKinney.
Yeah.
But there is a chance the whole safety market's depressed. The same way we talk about the running backs, there's a chance that because there's so many options, because all these high-priced safeties have been cut, the league looks at that and says, are we going to pay, when I say we, the league overall, going to pay 16, 18 million?
And so then maybe that is how you think you get value, is if you're going to get McKinney for 13 a year.
I would do that.
Right?
I would sign McKinney for 13.
Yeah. Now, I think he probably goes for more than that.
Yeah.
But
I'll defer to you on this one.
Let's go McKinney.
Okay.
Let's go McKinney, because I think there is too much of a question about whether Sneed is going to remain elite. You take him away from the Spagnuolo defense. Let's go McKinney.
Okay.
And there's if we're talking about, like, Howie has not done this, played at the top of the market for safety, you can talk yourself into Fangio being like, this is the position that I want to prioritize. I need a guy here.
Sure. Fair enough.
So let's go with Xavier McKinney moving on. Next up, we've got Eddie Jackson, the safety from the Bears, who Vic Fangio has spent a lot of time with. Boy, we spent like 15 minutes on the first matchup. We've got 32 to go through or something like that. Eddie Jackson versus Jordan Fuller from the Rams. Eddie Jackson, a patchwork guy. Jordan Fuller, a young plan B, plan C type for the Eagles, who you wrote about, which you can read on AllPHLY today, your 15-step plan for if you were Howie Roseman.
Yeah, this might be colored by my own personal preferences here, but I would say Jordan Fuller just makes a lot of sense for the Eagles. And then I like the age profile, the player profile, and the price profile.
Do you think that now we're going to get to Justin Simmons in a bit, but do you think Justin Simmons being available takes Eddie Jackson off the board as like the veteran Fangio guy?
Probably so. Now,
because I think Simmons is still going to cost money. And I don't think that Eddie Jackson is going to cost too much.
You also wonder if the Kevin Byard experience, if we'll call it that, says, man, this is a position where you can hit an age curve. If they don't want to be in the market for the 30-year-olds, if they would rather be in those mid-20s. But I would think Simmons is more likely
Eddie
than Jackson
was released.
Yes.
He's available.
And he's been available.
That's what I mean. He has been available. And so if the Eagles really wanted Eddie Jackson, they could have already done it.
It would have been like Malik Jackson. Yep.
Right. So let's go Jordan Fuller. I think that's a good one. He does sort of fit their under the radar type. You can buy on some upside. Sort of fits that. Okay. Next up, Geno Stone from the Baltimore Ravens led the AFC in interceptions last year, but has never been a full-time starter. He goes up against Alohi Gilman, the undersized safety from the Chargers, who has also never been a full-time starter until this year. Some injury history for him. Both of these guys are interesting because they would represent not like this guy is displacing any of the two safeties we have already. They could all work together as a trio.
Yeah, don't like to pay for career years, which you're looking at for either one of them. But I would say Geno Stone, leaving no stone unturned.
See, I'd like to make an IK and Poly reference, but that's on the tic-tac-toe immaculate grid video that has not dropped yet that we filmed before the show today.
Yeah. Do you?
That's what we call a tease.
Love your radio voice. Do you agree with Geno Stone here?
I think so.
Okay.
Now, Gilman, you've got the cohabitation matrix. Kellen Moore, same building as Alohi Gilman last year. I think that Gilman would make sense as a second week of free agency or end of the first week of free agency. You sign him for $3 million and you feel good about that. But I feel like if they're going to prioritize a guy, you could sort of talk yourself into Geno Stone. Problem is it's a different style of defense that he played in Baltimore than what Fangio would want. And so maybe that means that Gilman is more likely because, Staley is like a Fangio pretender. But
yes, but Stone might be, scheme versatile in that regard. I just think that if you're looking for more of a plug and play, I think Stone, if you're looking to make a difference at safety, Stone would fit that more than Gilman. I don't know, is Gilman that much different than the Terrell Edmonds signing last offseason?
Sure, but they signed Terrell Edmonds last offseason.
True, I'm saying they're at a different stage here.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, we'll go with Geno Stone. I have no problem with that. All right, next up, closing out the corner safety tier, we've got Christian Fulton, the last corner available or alive in Quacketology, who had a bad season with the Titans last year, but is still young, had a good season 2 years ago, or the reunion with C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
I think this exercise shows you how many more safeties there are in the market than corners, and that probably speaks to the first matchup we had here and the point you made. But I would go C.J. G.J. among these two. His ability to help in the slot and at safety. The Eagles know him. They wanted him last year. As you made the point to me last week, and you were correct, that the price is probably less than you were willing to pay last year. Howie can sell that pretty well. So I'm going to go Gardner-Johnson if he can let bygones be bygones.
Yeah, I mean, Fulton does strike me as the kind of guy that they would be interested in.
It's the kind of guy I'd be interested in.
And it's to your don't pay for a career year point. Like if he was on the market last year, he'd probably make twice as much as he's going to make this year. And he's a nice sweet spot of helping you get younger on defense, but also not preventing you from drafting a corner if the value presents itself in the first couple rounds. And I am not really in favor of the Gardner-Johnson reunion, but we know that they were interested in him. What do you make of the idea that, like, the tenuous nature of the locker room at the moment makes it less likely to sign a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, whereas last year they felt like they could handle anything.
Well, they've lived it with him now, so it's not a projection. So I think that if he comes back into this locker room, there's familiarity. Now it's a different coaching staff, but you still have Sirianni in place. I think the veterans in that room last year really had to kind of put him in a spot a bit, right? But you have Slay there still. You have some other guys that he's played with, that he knows.
A penchant for freelancing, is that a thing that Fangio would want?
I'm looking forward to talking to Vic and finding out. I would imagine no.
How many teams in the league, Zach, who have hired new coordinators have had those coordinators meet the media?
I don't have the exact number, but most of them.
Okay.
Yeah, position coaches as well.
Okay.
Yeah, not the Eagles. They
You have a little thread on your shirt here. I'm gonna pull for
look
you.
at this. What a friend. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know
You're
why.
welcome.
I don't know why that. Oh, yeah, Joy was a little touched by that.
Just like you were just a little touched.
Staying away from that joke.
Well, I gave you a little touch on the shoulder.
Yeah,
to
I'm
get there.
familiar with what you were saying. So
I don't think they're going to bring back C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
all right, so let's go Fulton then.
I could be wrong. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, let's go Fulton then, and they try to make up for the Greedy Williams move from last year.
Okay. All right. Before we move on now to linebackers, let me tell you about Rocket Money, because you don't have to release Avonte Maddox from your life in order to make more room for your finances like the Eagles did. All you got to do is sign up for Rocket Money, because they're going to go through all of those subscriptions that you have, and they're going to see if you're still using those things. Are you like doubling up on anything? And the great thing is, if you want to get rid of something, they'll do it for you. You don't have to do it. Did you know that nearly 75% of people have subscriptions they've just forgotten about? I was one of those people. And I probably still am, honestly. Before I started using Rocket Money, I thought I had about, 10 subscriptions. Turned out to be way more than that. And I could not believe when they showed me what I was paying for. I have been trying to save money for a while. I mean, that's like Zach, it's like your favorite thing. You said you have no kinks, but I feel like
Money saved is money earned.
that might be it. And Rocket Money can help you do it. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. I can see it all in one place, and if I see something I don't want anymore, Rocket Money will help me cancel it with just a few taps. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
This time of year, we often talk about ceilings and floors. Well, let's focus on floors right now, because Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, but they can't beat Empire Today on quality, service, speed. So they advertise low-quality products that Empire Today simply doesn't carry, because Empire Today won't promise the lowest prices, because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. And that's the great thing about Empire Flooring, is you're getting what the experts want. They have a virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how the new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. They service their own warranty. So if an issue does arise, just call Empire and they'll service all the warranties themselves. You won't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY for details. By the way, you were talking about the Rocket Money read there. I just want to say, I was listening to yesterday's show. This is going to be quick because I know we have a lot to get to.
Okay.
I gave just a simple clarification for the audience that when you talked about UConn, you were talking about the women's hockey team and not the basketball team. And you were like so insulted by this, okay? Meanwhile, I'm simply reading an advertisement and it tells me not to mention a certain company that I canceled the ads. And you take that and you accuse it of being, some type of questionable material. And
Specifically, what do you mean? Catch me up, and
I don't want any drops. And I just let that roll off my shoulders. And I thought the dichotomy of those two situations showed such a stark difference when I was listening back to the show.
Yeah, but you're still holding on to it, whereas I'm just moving on. We're just rolling ahead.
No, I didn't think back to it until I watched the show. So
the flip side to that is I have been hearing that I let you off the hook on the Good Food City Bermanism. People wanted to hear a lot more about that, and I thought, we got enough of that.
So I wouldn't call a city that's not a good food city a good food city, but the only thing I can go based off of is my meals or my meals, and one would hope that I have enough meals in said city to make that type of conclusion. I wouldn't go to a city, have one meal, and tell you it's a good food city. But if I've been to a city 4 times and I've had, let's say, 8 dinners there, and I've had 8 lunches, or probably 4 lunches, so 12 meals, okay? And I did a lot of research on where to eat in that city, I can say with not definitive conclusion, but enough that I feel confident saying on the air, that's a good food city. Meanwhile, if I only ate in the airport or the hotel, rather,
that was my favorite thing. It was if all I had was a meal in the hotel, I can't tell you it's a good food city.
I can't tell you it's a good food. I wouldn't say it's a bad food city, but
look, Nervous Nolan has already mentioned this.
What?
Anyone else think not enough time was spent yesterday on Zach's wild criteria for good versus bad food city?
Well, so it's not bad food city. I wouldn't
Khalif
volunteer.
says he was tossing and turning all night about it.
I wouldn't volunteer a city as a good food city. So, for instance, when I was in Kansas City this year, I had pneumonia. I didn't realize it at the time. I had pneumonia. I didn't leave my hotel. And then when I was in Kansas City before that, I had barbecue, but it was fine. Like a place Andy Reid recommended. It was a good spot. But then I didn't get to see Kansas City enough. I wouldn't come on air and say Kansas City is a good food city. I wouldn't say it's a bad food city. I just don't have enough evidence to tell you one way or the other on Kansas City. New Orleans, I've eaten in New Orleans quite a bit. Nashville, I've eaten in Nashville quite a bit. I can go on. Cities that I have more of a sample size, I can tell you is a good
Logically,
food city.
do you understand the idea that you can find good restaurants in every city?
Logically, I do understand that.
Okay.
My point is
this.
this.
So if you're looking for differentiation,
yes.
Okay, if you're doing all of this research to find the best restaurants everywhere you go that fit your specific palate, you're going to find good restaurants wherever you go in your mind, right?
Respectfully,
what makes a good food city relative to any of the other places you've gone?
Well, first off, I like to look for food that's specific to that city. So I'm not going to go to. I spent a lot of time in Omaha. I don't go to Omaha and look for the best seafood. Okay, I've had a lot of steak in Omaha. That's fine. I told you the story. I researched where Warren Buffett eats. And I went to that place 3 nights in a row, and he was not there any of those nights.
Julia had not heard that story before.
Okay, yeah. I was covering the College World Series.
Yeah. He was hoping to.
I was there for 11 nights.
Brush shoulders with
for 10
Warren
nights
B.
or 11 nights. I looked up Warren Buffett's favorite restaurant. I went my first 3 nights there before the games kicked in. Warren Buffett wasn't there any of those nights, but I was hoping to see Warren Buffett and tell him how much I admire his.
What would you have done if you looked over and there was Warren Buffett going to town on a seafood platter?
On a seafood platter? Ooh. In Omaha? I mean, I would say, well, Warren, I mean, you are the Oracle. You've made some great picks before. What made you choose the crab cakes here at Piccolo Pete's? And I would probably ask him that.
Okay. I feel like we got a long offseason ahead. That we
we have an offseason to discuss this.
All right, let's talk linebackers because we still have a lot to do here. Tyrell Dodson, the sort of third linebacker level guy from the Bills, but you could maybe buy yourself on some upside, or Kenneth Murray, the former first-round pick, cohabitation matrix with Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier, and you probably loved him coming out.
You got an undrafted rookie against a first-round pick. The first-round pick is younger.
That really has nothing to do with it.
What am I going to do? No, I'm joking here. Kenneth Murray. I think, now, the Bills aren't signed. Like, the reason why Dotson's available is the Bills aren't keeping anyone right now, it seems.
Right.
But except weirdly going after Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, that is weird.
But I would think Kenneth Murray, if you think there's a chance that he can have a post-Chargers renaissance.
Dotson is a little bit undersized too. Murray's a bigger linebacker. If you're looking for some differentiation between like the body types with Nakobe Dean, you can sort of sell yourself on that. I think Murray is probably the right choice here. Okay, we move on to Jordyn Brooks, another former first-round pick from the Seattle Seahawks, or Josey Jewell, who has some nice overlap with Fangio and had a pretty good year last year. He's a little bit older. Yeah. He's 29, whereas Brooks is a second contract player.
Yeah, I think the Eagles would probably be looking not for that placeholder type, but for someone who can be a starter for a few years. I'm higher on Jordyn Brooks than others, it seems, not just because he's a first-round pick, but I think he's a guy who's flashed all these different skills, but hasn't necessarily all put it together in one. They didn't pick up his fifth-year option, but he recovered from injury last year and played decently. I actually like your idea from last Friday's show of potentially trading for a linebacker as opposed to signing one and still getting a starting caliber player, but I'm going to go with Jordyn Brooks in this one.
So here's my other big picture thought that I wanted to talk about today. Drew Tranquill, who we're going to talk about in a second because he has been replaced in the bracket since he signed with the Chiefs yesterday. He signed a pretty hefty deal with the Chiefs, right? It's like $6.5 million a year, 13 guaranteed on a 3-year deal. That's probably a 2-year deal. Like, Drew Tranquill is fine. But if that's the going rate for linebackers, like what Jordyn Brooks is going to make like $12 million, something like that. Are the Eagles going to pay that much?
Well, I've heard Brooks projections, like I've heard a range. I've heard and Pro Football Focus had this look at the Bobby Okereke deal last year. Thank you, 4 years, $40 million. But then I talked to someone who was like,
Drew Tranquill's making 6.5.
Yeah, but so I talked to someone who's like, no, Brooks is going to be more in like the $8 million range. And so you hear this frame of this wide array. If he's in that 12 million range, I don't think the Eagles play in those waters, but I think in like the 7 to 10 million range makes more sense for Brooks.
Yeah, I think my general philosophy here is like there are really only so few differentiated difference-making linebackers in the league. There's like 5 of them. And so I don't want to pay, like, Jordyn Brooks is better than Josey Jewell and Devin White probably. But is he that much better than those guys? I think what the Eagles need at linebacker is competence. And I don't know that I think you're probably not going to get good bang for your buck if you're paying a lot of money for Jordyn Brooks. Like if you sign Josey Jewell and Tyrell Dodson, that like makes more sense to me than just spending it all on Jordyn Brooks. But I don't know what their plan is.
You talk about the Eagles being an overcorrection.
Like if this market is inflated and the safety market is deflated, I'd rather be playing in the high end of the safety waters.
Sure. But you talk about the Eagles being an overcorrection team, or kind of having
rabbit ears.
The rabbit ears. Do you think with the way the Chiefs played, the way the Chiefs linebackers played, the way the Niners linebackers played, seeing that, it's like, man, we need to stop getting this kind of rotating cast of past their prime players or guys who no one else is interested in, and start getting a legit group here?
I don't know. And again, this is probably a Fangio question. If you want to not pound the table, but make the case for Brooks, I'm okay with that. But
yeah. Now I just set myself up that if they signed Josey Jewell and I pounded the table for Brooks, I don't hear the end of it. But I'm going to pound I don't want to pound the table because my laptop's here. I'm gonna pound the table here for Jordyn Brooks.
Okay. All right. We move on now, and this is where Drew Tranquil has been displaced in the bracket. He has been replaced by Justin Simmons. So we have a safety entering the conversation here, and we get Devin White, the former first-round pick of the Tampa Bay Bucks, freelance, benched at times, but has some upside and some playmaking ability. He goes up against Justin Simmons, who was released yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of Simmons. It really depends if you, as I wrote earlier this week, that the Eagles are going to target, in their prime core players, to try to get younger here, not to kind of go with that one-year deal thing. But if you say Justin Simmons, there's just too much talent, too much familiarity with Fangio. He gives you a high-quality baseline. And it's not just Fangio, by the way. It's Christian Parker, who he had his best, some of his best seasons with. I'm willing to say Justin Simmons, and it's interesting hearing like people in Denver talk about how valuable he was in that locker room. With the Eagles losing, Jason Kelce and potentially Fletcher Cox, maybe you do want that. I don't want to say adult in the room. That's like an insult to other people, but someone who can also be a culture setter for you.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah. I think I would go Simmons here. I think they might have some interest in Devin White. I don't think that's off the board at all, but I do think that Simmons is someone they will search for. All right, last one here. Jerome Baker, the linebacker from the Dolphins, another Fangio connection, was released for cap and injury reasons, but Drew Rosenhaus's agent says that he is fully healthy, ready for week 1 against Zach's boy, Jeremy Chinn, and Zach likes that he gets a double dip because he could be a safety or a linebacker for the Eagles.
Yeah, so look, there's a file that we have, PHLY has, of I don't want to say old takes exposed, that wouldn't be, but old takes that could be exposed in a positive way. I said on a show in November the Eagles are going to sign Jeremy Chinn. I didn't know what their defensive scheme was going to be. Chinn did not play well in Evero's scheme last year, which is based off of the Fangio scheme. I think if I just said which one's Howie going to sign, I would say Chinn. But when you factor in the Fangio connection, the need a linebacker, I guess I would lean toward Baker. I don't want to bypass Chinn and then not draft Chinn.
You've already got Chinn staked out.
Okay,
this is game theory wise. Chinn doesn't need to win Quacketology for you to puff your chest out if they sign Jeremy Chinn.
All right, so then it's a no-brainer for me to go Baker then, right?
I actually think that Baker, if you were we are probably not going to accurately predict which linebacker they're going to sign, but water gun to my toe, I would probably pick Jerome Baker because he has the connection. Yeah. He is younger. He has the starting experience. We know that Fangio trusted him. He is if I were to pick one guy, he seems the most likely to me.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so Chinn moves on and takes out Jeremy Chinn. We move on now to the offensive and defensive linemen. Fun matchup of older mercenaries here. Jadeveon Clowney against Zadarius Smith.
So Clowney had a really good year with Baltimore last year, but I also wonder if Mike McDonald. I'm always confusing Mike McDonald with Mike McDaniels.
It's tough.
If Mike McDonald will try to bring him to Seattle. But I think Zadarius Smith makes sense if the Eagles are looking for that placeholder type before Nolan Smith is ready to be a full-time guy for you.
I don't feel super strongly about it. Clowney's probably better against the run. Zadarius Smith probably more upside as a pass rusher. If you want to go Smith, I'm fine with that.
I don't feel that. I'll defer to you on this one.
Well, you're the one who discovered Jadeveon Clowney, of course.
Well, I mean, I knew he was going to be a player. That was my astute draft observation. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's fine. We'll go Zadarius Smith. All right. Next up, Jonathan Grenard, who we have discussed, one of the better young pass rushers on the market from the Houston Texans. He goes up against Josh Uche, who was your plan C in your Howie Roseman backfilling edge rusher if I were him for the offseason.
Well, I do think if Eagles trade Reddick, this is the position where they would pay for it. And we'll get to Bryce Huff. That's the player I would watch more than Grenard. But I think they'd play at the top of the market at edge rusher if they lose Reddick, or if they trade Reddick, not lose him, trade him. So I'm willing to be talked into Grenard. I like Josh Uche as a guy who has some pass rushing juice, but he hasn't shown that he's like you're building your defense around, or he's a top of the line player. I think Bernard's gonna be paid like a top of the line player. So I'll defer to you.
I think I would go Uche here.
Okay, good. I'm on board with that.
Because I think
How do the Victors?
I like Grenard, but I think if they're trading Reddick, I don't know that they're paying like $14 million for Jonathan Grenard. I that feels like a little bit of a stretch for me. Whereas I think Uche makes a little bit more sense as a rotation player.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay. Next up, and this is a tough one. I think that this is a classic, second round matchup where both teams have like national championship possibilities. Maybe one team was injured over the course of the year. They're a little bit underseeded. Bryce Huff against Andrew Van Ginkel. I think either guy here. I would venture to say that whoever wins this is probably coming out of this bracket. Bryce Huff, who you also wrote about today, strikes me as, like I've talked about, fitting the Reddick profile, where it's not quite to the. He only has 1 year of doing it, as opposed to Reddick having had 2 years of doing it. But I think the league may talk itself into not believing what they've seen with Bryce Huff, and he's still young and is a player who can fit into a rotation, whereas Van Ginkel is a plug and play, discount version of Haason Reddick, who has done it for Fangio. Now he's a little bit older.
Yeah.
I think this is a really interesting matchup.
Yeah, I'm pounding the table here for Bryce Huff for the reason that you mentioned. If you're spending money, spend money on upside. Spend money on a guy who's shown. He's coming off a double-digit sack season. He hasn't done it in a full-time role yet. There's just a lot of juice that he can bring to the table. With Van Ginkel, I just feel like you're going with someone who has that background with Fangio. I get that, but doesn't have prolific sack production, is older. I know there are advanced numbers you can look at in terms of him getting to the quarterback, and Josh Tolentino, who I respect, says AVG, but I don't. And maybe this is saying what I would do, but Bryce Huff seems more like the Howie move than Van Ginkel. And Howie is the one who's signing the checks here, or not signing the checks, but offering the money.
Yeah, Huff is only in play if they trade Reddick.
Yes.
Whereas I actually think Van Ginkel could be in play if they don't trade Reddick. Now then you've got 5 edge rushers, but I think they might be able to sign him just for the market. You're pounding the table. I'm not gonna stand in your way.
Are you pushing?
I
back
wouldn't
on
pound
this?
the table for Van Ginkel,
Okay.
but I think that he very well could be an Eagle.
Okay. I mean, I think Huff's gonna get paid too, so it depends what that number is here. I mean, it's like asking the audience here. I see Josh and Khalif both say AVG. I don't know. What do you think, Joya? Do you have a strong opinion on this one?
This is your show, Zach. This is your show.
All right. Well, then I'm going with Bryce Huff.
Okay. Bryce Huff it is. Last matchup of this quadrant is Dorrance Armstrong, the Cowboys' third banana, who is a good player, against Nick Harris, the last offensive lineman alive. And he is a center-only player if you're looking for a tried-and-true backup center.
Yeah, I don't love how the selection committee came up with this matchup as the previous one. I think
it's classic. That's a classic tournament, though.
I think Van Ginkel could have gone farther. Yeah, so I will go with Dorrance Armstrong here, as opposed to signing a classic tried and true center.
Okay, I think that's probably right. All right, before we get to the last quadrant in the second round, time to tell you about our friends at FOCO, because FOCO has been with us from the beginning. FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandom. Going to a basketball or hockey game? Show off your love with team-branded friendship bracelets. Whether it is hoodies, jackets, beachwear, or even overalls, there is something for fans for almost every occasion. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. They are for fans. As Zach would say, they are for only fans. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY10 for 10% off.
PHLY has so many great events coming up, including today. It's the NHL trade deadline. I've seen all these big deals being made. I'm kind of envious of our Flyers crew, of our PHLY Flyers crew. They do a great job, but I love talking about big trades. And we already saw that with Sean Walker. There's a watch party today, trade deadline show March 8th, which is today, 2 to 4, the chicken or the egg. And we also make sure you're a diehard member. We've had great stuff throughout the week. Started on Monday with Bo's Top 100. As I said, that's a resource to keep going back to. I get to see the people subscribing to diehards. It's been awesome seeing the numbers this week. And what you need to know is you're not just getting our exclusive written content. Like, that's a great thing that we have. But you also get a free shirt. You get access to the Discord. I check the Discord all the time. There's fun conversations in there. And you get discounts on merch. You get discounts on events. So definitely become a diehard here at PHLY.
Which cord?
Discord.
Discord over here.
Okay, yeah. A lot of Bo Wulf fans in the Discord.
Well, a lot of Bo Wulf fans anywhere you go. All right, let's move on to the offensive skill position players. The quadrant here. Jacoby Brissett, the Nick Sirianni favorite, goes up against ya boy Darnell Mooney, the speedy, smaller receiver of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I guess Jacoby. I'm not high on them signing either one of these guys, but I can see them going, if they're going with a veteran quarterback, I can see them going with Jacoby. I don't think they overpay at wide receiver. And I think if they do, Noah Brown would be the player I would look at more than Darnell Mooney. But
I think Mooney's going to get more than Brown.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think the Eagles are going to pay much for that third receiver spot. I think the draft is more
any free agent wide receiver is going to get more money than they probably deserve based on the market, just because there is like the supply and demand of it. There are not a lot of guys available. So yeah, I'm fine with Brissett.
Okay.
All right, next up.
He by the way has been like a staple in Quacketology in the past.
Yes, I think he has. Yeah, he's made it far in the past.
Yeah, he advanced.
Although not last year, I don't think. Last year he was too good. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe coming off the first.
Yeah, but he represents himself. You wonder as he talks to teams, he's like advanced pretty far in Quacketology.
Yeah, there you go. That's where he could use the representation for them to be watching. All right, a running back matchup here, Zach. A.J. Dillon, who would be a committee player, your power back, or we talked about it yesterday, the possibility of going big for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a better chance of Saquon than A.J. Dillon because A.J. Dillon's not like a differentiated player per se, whereas Saquon Barkley, you're getting someone who's one of like you. If you're paying for someone who's one of the best players in the league. Whereas I don't want to say A.J. Dillon's replacement level, but you're probably not prioritizing A.J. Dillon per se.
Yeah, the Rashad Penny signing from last year is messing me up a little bit. Okay. That he was like the very first guy they signed, him and Boston Scott, which was very bizarre. But yes, I agree that like I doubt that the Eagles are targeting A.J. Dillon.
Yes.
It would be more like, okay, it's the second week of free agency. Who's available? This guy makes sense. Whereas, yes, if they were targeting somebody, Barkley makes more sense.
Yeah, and Khalif, I'm on board with A.J. Dillon and drafting Jalen. Right, you said draft a shifty running back. That's Jalen right from Tennessee.
Else at first.
Hey, different. Yeah. Don't listen to that in the car. Poopy. Okay. So be it.
Okay. J.K. Dobbins now, who again was a possibility for the Eagles in the Jalen Hurts draft in 2020, has had an injury-plagued career, but has some upside. He goes up against Curtis Samuel. By the way, now that we get to Curtis Samuel, did you see the picture of Jalen Hurts without the goatee?
I did.
What did you make of the idea that I think Charlie O'Connor tweeted that he looks a little bit like Shield?
I didn't think that. It is.
I kind of see it.
You can see it. I mean, good for Shield because like
good for Jalen.
I mean, I would say good for Shield.
Good for Jalen.
Yeah, good for Jalen. Well, I'm saying that Shield's 40 years old. Jalen's 25. I mean,
you're calling Shield washed.
No, I'm saying I think Shield would probably be more complimented being compared to the 25-year-old than Jalen. I know Jalen's an old soul, but by the way, you look like this 40-year-old, outstanding sports writer and podcaster. But I don't think
I would say father first,
yes, I don't think Jalen Hurts.
husband last.
I don't think Jalen Hurts would be complimented if you're like, by the way, you remind me of Shil Kapadia. Maybe it's the hat. They both had the flattish brim hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more of my hat's more bent, than this. But I believe very much in being clean shaven. So I like this look. Yeah.
All over.
Bo?
I mean, you said it with such conviction. I believe very much in being.
How many people on the show have ever seen me with a beard? Never. I've never grown out the. I mean, maybe like.
Before. Yeah, but that's the question: is does that philosophy, that life philosophy, extend beyond your face?
I don't need to entertain this conversation. Yeah,
you can take it wherever you want. I don't know.
Yeah,
could be your back.
Yeah, I shave my face. Okay.
I mean, we've had Manscaped as a sponsor in the past.
I would love to have them as a sponsor again.
Okay. Yeah. J.K. Dobbins or Curtis Samuel? Who you got?
J.K. Dobbins, very Howie-like move.
That does strike me as a very Howie-like move. I think Curtis Samuel makes a little bit of sense for them too. Different type of player.
Yeah.
To add some different flavor to the offense, but I would go Dobbins here too. All right, last second round matchup: Noah Brown, who we've talked about, or KJ Osborne, the Vikings slot receiver.
Noah Brown. I think the numbers on him last year were impressive. The experience with Kellen Moore, he kind of gives you a physical. By the way, Nick Sirianni loves receivers who can block. Noah Brown does that. So I would say Noah Brown.
Yeah, I think KJ Osborne, not that he can't play outside, but that he is like sort of typecast as just a slot guy. I don't think they would want just a slot guy. I think because it behooves them to be able to move Devontae Smith and sometimes A.J. Brown inside. I think Noah Brown makes more sense. Yeah. All right, we're ready for the Sweet 16 now. Xavier McKinney or Jordan Fuller?
Ooh, I mean, price-wise, I would say Jordan Fuller, but Xavier McKinney's the better player. It depends if you think they're going to shop at the top of the market or you think they're going to try to find...
Well, that's literally the entire exercise.
Yeah. I'm thinking.
Okay, no, I know.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's.
I mean,
that's
do you just want me to
shot.
pause for 30 seconds while I think about it? Then you would say, "This is a good podcast." And what do you think?
I don't know. Like I said, this is. I am really like. What am I most interested to see what they do? I am really, really interested to see what they do at safety. I guess I think I would say Fuller.
Okay,
but. Like, I think that they would value McKinney the highest.
Yes, I agree.
I don't think that they're going to prioritize adding a stud safety.
Interesting.
Given the needs they have elsewhere. But I also don't think that it makes sense value-wise to prioritize. Like, if they're going to sign a premier player, I don't think linebacker makes sense, nor does it fit their philosophical investment. Yeah. I think corner is the one, but that's going to have to be a trade. I don't know. I think Fuller is almost too good.
Interesting. I actually don't think. I think Fuller's like your $5 to $8 million safety.
Right, but he's a level of like he comes in and he is a starter, and like probably displacing Sidney Brown, yeah. Whereas like Alohi Gilman, who we talked about, or even Geno Stone, yes. Like that may not necessarily be the case. I don't know. I don't feel strongly here. I my first instinct was Fuller, and now that I'm thinking about it, I guess I'm talking myself into McKinney again.
Well, then let's go McKinney. Because I can always claim Fuller after the fact, so let's go McKinney. Right. And by the way, McKinney was
a Nolan Smith now.
McKinney was part of your 5 moves last week.
Well, that was what I would do,
yes.
Not what I think they're going to do.
Yeah, so this makes Bo look better.
Thing. Okay,
yeah.
All right, Geno Stone or Christian Fulton?
Let's go Christian Fulton.
Okay.
Yeah, adding a young corner, 25 years old.
He's like the only corner who is going to be available in free agency who I would expect them to pay real money for.
Yeah. And yeah, I would be on board with Christian Fulton signing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Linebackers now. Kenneth Murray or Jordyn Brooks?
I mean, come on, 2 first-round picks, the same draft.
You're getting hot and sweaty over here.
Oh, man.
We get a fan in here, Julia?
Yeah. I mean, man, Howie, you're talking my language here. Jordyn Brooks, I think. But
Interesting. I would say Kenneth Murray.
so let's go Kenneth Murray.
I just don't think they're going to pay that. I think Brooks is going to be too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, Murray didn't distinguish himself in this style of defense, but
That's true.
But Murray, when he was coming out of Oklahoma, you heard off the charts in intangibles. I remember a story. He saved someone on the side of the road. Do you recall this?
I do not.
Yeah. Julia, can you Google real quick Kenneth Murray side of the road?
I'd love to see what else pops up here. Kenneth Murray side of the road.
Did something come up here? Maybe not.
Wait, what was that first Reddit? Tragically funny how Kenneth Murray definitely knows mesh is coming, but doesn't find the sit route. No, that's not. Yeah, just side of the road.
Okay, I could be wrong here. There was something. He saved a life or something like that, but maybe not.
You thinking of Drew Rosenhaus?
No.
Superman.
Let's go Kenneth Murray for the sake of this conversation.
Okay.
Does the chat know what I'm talking about, by the way? Is there something, what's in my head about what Kenneth Murray did? Yes. Oh, well, here you go. Thank you. Life took a major turn in July of 2019. Murray was driving home from church only to discover a deaf woman collapsed on the sidewalk. The CPR training Murray learned as a counselor at the church community center would end up saving a life. Just happened to be at the right place at the right time, he said. Yes, he saved a woman's life.
I am not officially questioning that story. But I am saying if you were to make up a story with 3 touch points to make yourself or any fictional character look good, coming from church, deaf woman saving their life on the side of the road, it's almost too good to be true.
And then here's a big NFL.com profile, how 3 special needs kids changed Kenneth Murray's life forever, and how the star linebacker from Oklahoma plans to keep a 10-year-old promise to them. Like, you're talking about off-the-charts intangibles here.
Unfortunately, did not play out very well for him as an NFL player so far.
Okay.
Nervous Nolan says, side of the road, great food city.
Well, you can find a lot of great restaurants inside of roads.
That's true.
Yes.
All right, so we're going Kenneth Murray?
Yes.
Okay. Justin Simmons or Jerome Baker?
Ooh, 2 Fangio connections here. The Fangio bracket. Let's go Justin Simmons.
I think I like whoever wins this matchup to go to the finals.
Interesting. Although I am a Baker guy.
I kind of go Baker here.
All right, let's go Baker.
And this is a pure
younger
gaming it out. I think there are many more solutions at safety than there are at linebacker for them. And I think that Baker is one of a smaller subset of answers at linebacker, whereas safety could be anybody.
Yeah. A youngish guy came on the, there's no comp pick formula here with them. So, yeah, I like Baker.
Okay. So, Darius Smith or Josh Uche?
Josh Uche, younger.
I agree. I don't even think we need to spend much time there. Bryce Huff or Dorrance Armstrong?
Bryce Huff. Making a splash.
Yeah, I think I agree.
As someone who I know close would text me when they did that, this is a Howie Wowie, they would say.
Jeffrey?
Not Jeffrey Lurie, no.
Okay. Jeffrey Epstein?
Bo.
Well, you intimated there was a different Jeffrey. Just the first one that came to mind.
The first Jeffrey that comes to mind for you is Jeffrey Epstein?
No, the second. He's the second one.
The second Jeffrey that comes to mind for you is Jeffrey Epstein.
He's pretty, very much in the zeitgeist. Who's this second Jeffrey that comes to mind for you? Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
There's 10 Jeffreys that I would think about, or 30 before Jeffrey.
Go ahead. Give
Jeffrey
me 5.
Epstein's not in my mind.
Give me 5.
Jeffrey McLean.
No, that doesn't count.
That
That's a
doesn't
Jeff.
count? He's in my phone.
It's
as
a Jeffrey. He's in your phone as Jeffrey McLean?
I believe so.
This is the weirdest thing that has ever come out about you, I think.
Let me see here.
Aside from you being shaved like Charlie Villanueva head to toe. Jeffrey McLean. Wow.
Yeah, I actually think
That's weird.
I think it was one of those things where like an iCloud, the iCloud.
Okay, it was an automatic.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's a little bit less
Shout out
weird.
to Jeff. Awesome reporter.
Do you see what you just did?
What? I call him Jeff. I don't call him Jeff.
Shout out to Jeff, not shout out to
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
Yeah, but
Okay,
he's
who are
in
your
my
other
phone.
Jeffreys?
We're tight on time as it is. We don't need to go. Let's say
No.
Jeffrey,
You said right off the top of my head, I could name 30 Jeffreys before Jeffrey Epstein.
I wouldn't think of Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah. Alshon Jeffrey. Okay.
Jeffrey Dahmer. All right.
Jared Jeffries.
Okay, so far you've named no other Jeffreys.
Alshon Jeffrey.
You've named a Jeff and two people with the last name Jeffrey. See,
Yeah, that's
Julia
probably-
Googled Jeffrey, and the first one who
This
pops
is
up is
probably
Jeffrey
Bo
Epstein. That's what I'm
Googling.
saying. That's he's the one who's in the.
I gotta tell you,
the ether.
Jeffrey Epstein never comes to my mind. I couldn't even tell you. I know that there was a popular documentary. I didn't watch it. I don't.
That's all you know.
I mean, I'm familiar with the story, but he gets in. I only have.
All I know. There was a podcast. That's all.
I only have a certain amount of.
You don't have to feign like
No.
You don't know the story.
It's not like front of mind for me. I would really need to piece a few things together. I remember when it came out, but I couldn't tell you much about it.
Okay.
I don't think about him as much as you do. I'm sorry.
He is absolutely one of the most famous Jeffreys at the moment.
It's not a story that really interests me.
Okay, but that's not the point.
Yeah, so I don't read about it much or think about it much. That's all I'm saying. Jeffrey Mosher.
Again, not
Yes.
a Jeff. I mean, not a Jeffrey. A Jeffrey. A Jeff. You have not yet named a single other Jeffrey.
Alshon.
Doesn't count.
Why does that
A
not count?
first name Jeffrey.
You can't. When you say Jeffrey, what comes to mind? Jeffrey Lurie, Alshon Jeffrey, Jeffrey McLean. Yes. Jared Jeffries. I mean, Jeffrey Bezos.
Another Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright. That's a good one. Finally watched him.
I don't even know who Jeffrey Wright is.
Really enjoyed it.
And who's Jeffrey Wright?
He's an actor.
In what movies? Yeah.
American Fiction.
Never seen it.
That's him. She's showing you a picture of him right there.
Oh, okay. Vaguely familiar. Yeah. I couldn't tell you that was Jeffrey Wright before you pulled that up.
Okay.
Yes.
You would have been Jeffrey wrong.
Yes.
Jacoby Brissett or Saquon Barkley?
Saquon.
J.K. Dobbins or Noah Brown?
Ooh, tough one here. I mean, I would say J.K. is more of the Howie type, but if they're going to sign a receiver, I think Noah Brown fits the profile.
I think it's Dobbins because I don't know that they are I think they
Yes.
should sign a receiver. I don't know that they are going to sign a receiver.
They can follow, I think it's like 0.7 in my 15-point plan of waiting until the draft and getting a good one in the second or third round.
All right, we are at the Elite Eight.
My favorite round.
Really? Why?
Got great games. Okay. And Final Four, you only have 2 games. Elite Eight, it's spread over 2 days. You have 4 games, 2 per day. I always, and you have like some of my most memorable games I've watched are Elite Eight games.
Okay. Xavier McKinney or Christian Fulton?
Xavier McKinney. But I'm willing to be talked out of that one.
Yeah, I'm playing the same thing in my mind of like McKinney is one of many answers at safety,
Yeah.
whereas Fulton is if they're going to sign a corner, the guy who I think they're going to sign. But it would be also a little bit silly for us to not have a single safety in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think you're underrating how much they like Healy Ringo, but
Well, but Fulton is also not
true. He's not-
blocking Keely Ringo.
That's true. He's 25 years old, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's a good corner draft. Like, are you paying Christian Fulton or are you drafting Kamari Lassiter in the second round?
But you don't know. You're making the decisions at different times. You don't
Well,
know
that's a
who's
good
going to
point.
be available.
That's why, by the way, free agency should be after the NFL draft and not before.
I disagree.
Okay.
I don't know. You want to go McKinney?
Yes.
Okay, let's go McKinney. And then I think Jerome Baker blows out Kenneth Murray.
Yeah, I would
I
agree
think
with
it's
that.
one of the more lopsided games of the tournament.
Yeah.
Josh Uche or Bryce Huff?
Ooh, two guys I had in my write-up today. Bryce Huff was my plan B. Josh Uche is my plan C. Let's go with my plan B. I think Bryce Huff I think Bryce Huff's going to make more money, but I also think that if the Eagles don't have Haason Reddick on their team next year, they're making a splash at edge rusher. Howie will never go into a season. I think he learned his lesson, by the way, 2 years ago. They didn't have enough at edge rusher. I think they would make sure they're covered at edge rusher. This is not a particularly good edge rusher draft. You can't wait until the draft at edge rusher. I can really see them going after Bryce Huff if they don't keep Haason Reddick.
Let me ask you this. If they do keep Haason Reddick, do you think they could still go after Josh Uche?
No, I don't think that's the move they would do. Because then you have, unless you're trading Sweat. I don't think that's the case. A matter of fact, maybe then you're looking less at the designated pass rusher type and maybe more as the edge rusher who can play in space a bit more.
Okay.
You pushing back on this?
No, I think there's going to be more competition for Huff if they like Uche.
But the Eagles have money. They're top 10 in cap space in the league.
Yeah, and if the idea is this is necessitated by a Reddick trade, then I think Huff does sort of fit that.
Yeah.
All right. Last one in the Elite Eight. A good matchup here. Saquon Barkley and J.K. Dobbins.
Ooh, are you going with the discount? Or are you going with the top of the market? Look, Howie's type is going for the discount. Now, maybe you learned a bit from the Rashad Penny experience last year. Dobbins is still really young, coming off a major injury, but I think J.K. Dobbins probably fits more. Although, and there is smoke on Barkley. They've really liked Barkley in the past. They've liked Dobbins in the past. I'm going to let you pick this one because I can make a strong argument for either one of them.
I think I would go Dobbins.
Okay. I'm surprised. I thought you'd go Saquon.
I think there is real interest in Saquon, but if you're doing that, it means that you are making a conscious decision to not do other stuff.
Sure.
And that's if you're going after Saquon, that's like your day one priority. Mm-hmm. That's what you're trying to make happen. Whereas there are many other paths to searching out other positions, and you can still make a realistic offer for Dobbins on day one, but at a certain price point. Yeah,
and I should also say Howie hasn't given a multi-year contract to a second contract player, a second contract running back since LaShawn McCoy, or Darren Sproles was an extension. Now McCoy's was an extension too, but Sproles wasn't. So let's say Darren Sproles, but really in terms of a featured back since LaShawn McCoy. Everything's kind of been this J.K. Dobbins 1 year type, and then you keep kind of getting on that wheel.
All right, J.K. Dobbins does it. And so we have reached the final four. Xavier McKinney, Jerome Baker, Bryce Huff, and J.K. Dobbins. One of those four will be crowned in just a few minutes the 2024 Quacketology champion, joining the likes of Jordan Whitehead.
And who else?
I don't remember the other people who have won, honestly.
Yeah, we play so many of these
I don't
games.
even remember who won last year.
Last year, we said Byron Jones 1 year. We hit that. Well, they didn't sign him, but we were right in terms of the direction they were going. Last year was I think we were talking corner last year, maybe, because we didn't know they'd keep Bradbury. So we'd have to look that up.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah. I will look this up real quick. Who do you think is the winner here?
Xavier McKinney or Jerome Baker? These are good ones. This is a good Final Four. I could see any of these. My lean here is Baker. I think I don't know that I believe the Eagles are gonna be at the very top of a safety market when there are going to be so many options available.
Yeah, I'm okay with Baker. I think Baker makes a lot of sense.
What are you trying to look up? Who won Quacketology last year?
Yeah. I know Patrick Peterson was involved in it. I know Mariota was involved in it.
Oh, it might have been Mariota.
Because someone wrote huge Quacketology implications when I reported that they are signing Mariota as the number 2 QB.
Oh, hold on, here we go. I found the video.
Okay, this is a terrific,
All right,
podcasting.
Do you agree with Baker over McKinney?
Yeah, I'm going Baker over McKinney.
You talk through Huff or Dobbins.
Yeah, so I'm going Bryce Huff here for the Huff or Dobbins. Now, I know this is contingent upon Reddick not coming back, but I do think that if the Eagles don't keep Reddick, then they're shopping at the top of the market at edge rusher. You can make an argument that Huff is the top available edge rusher. Now, that requires them paying, but Howie's going to pay at edge rusher if Reddick goes. It would really surprise me. It would if they trade Haason Reddick and they're just like, you know what, we're good with Nolan Smith and let's just pair him with a situational guy. When you look at the cap space distribution in the NFL right now, the Eagles have, according to Over the Cap, which does a great job, you should bookmark that page, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're 10th in the NFL in cap space. Now, there are teams that are going to be interested in edge rushers like the Giants. The Giants have less cap space than the Eagles do, not by a lot, but I could really see Bryce Huff making a lot of sense for the Eagles. So J.K. Dobbins is the Howie type. Now, are they going to sign someone coming off a torn Achilles? I believe it is. There's a lot of variability there. J.K. Dobbins is 25 years old. It would be presumably a 1-year deal to allow him to reset his value. Now, he's from Houston. There's a Jalen Hurts connection maybe, but I'm going with Bryce Huff here. What do you think?
It was Byron Murphy in the finals against somebody, but I can't figure out who it was. I disagree with you for this game only because we don't know that Haason Reddick is going to get traded.
So we'll go Dobbins.
We know that they're going to sign a running back.
Yeah, and Dobbins fits the Howie type. So let's go Dobbins.
I can't. Now I'm dragging us on too long.
We both like Byron Murphy. What's that?
Khalif says it was Byron Murphy who was the
Khalif, thank you so much, man. We appreciate the loyalty.
All right. Well, J.K. Dobbins or Jerome Baker. That's what it comes down to.
Urban Meyer's loving this one right here.
What do you think he's doing? Just walking around kicking people in his house?
These are two of his former players. And this exercise, by the way,
shows how feel up co-eds.
This exercise shows how loaded the Ohio State rosters were when he was there. I mean, Jordan Ford's.
I'm sure he did everything on the up and up to make that happen.
I couldn't tell you. So Jerome Baker. Let's just give the quick Jerome Baker profile. You're looking at a 27-year-old, okay? Turned 27 in December, actually Christmas Day, birthday for Jerome Baker. He has been in the league since 2018 when he was a third-round pick by the Dolphins. He signed a 3-year, $39 million contract in 2021. So he's been paid. And he was part of Fangio's defense last year. They were expecting him to be a key player. He got injured. But there are Fangio quotes last year saying, like, this guy's been good, but he can really take the next step here. So maybe you're saying, like, this is a younger version of Zach Cunningham. You're getting a guy often, not in terms of playing style, but someone who's been paid already. The league has shown that they valued him, that he has good film, and he's coming off an injury-prone season, or an injury-plagued season, I should say. That's the Jerome Baker part of this. J.K. Dobbins, you're not going to find many running backs who've been like more productive on a per carry basis than J.K. Dobbins.
But he got to play next to Lamar.
Makes that
a lot easier.
I mean, he averages 5.8 yards per carry in his career, 6 yards per carry as a rookie, 5.7 yards per carry in 2022. Now, 2.8 yards per carry in 2023. He played one game, only had 8 carries. So it's he missed all of 2021. He missed almost all of 2023. So there is a little Rashad Penny to him, but the Eagles really liked him coming out. So
my vote is Jerome Baker.
Chat, what do you think? If nothing, I've shown that I pander to the audience. I will give you guys 20 seconds to chime in. My pick will be your pick. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. All right, Gavin says Jerome. Thank you, Gavin. Tracer Bullet, do you have a pick? Khalif, do you have a pick? Paul, do you have a pick? Dave, do you have a pick? The Andal, do you have a pick?
I mean, I think it's pretty thematically appropriate that we conclude Quacketology, Zach.
With Jerome.
Send it in, Jerome.
Send it in, Jerome. I like that. And so you know what? Jerome Baker, come on down.
Send it in, Jerome.
Come on down, Jerome Baker from Cleveland, Ohio. The Eagles just lost a player from Cleveland, Ohio, in Jason Kelce. And Jerome Baker fills that Cleveland, Ohio void on here. By the way, he originally he was a big-time recruit, originally committed to the University of Florida. Then decommitted, goes to Ohio State. So Howie Roseman, when he's signing him, says, "You broke my heart when you didn't go to Florida. Get my chance to have you on my team."
Don't you think the Howie Florida stuff is a little overplayed at this point? Like, he hasn't really brought in Florida guys.
No, it's not bringing it in. He always brings it up. You know, don't you remember when he?
Well, yeah, I know.
He called up. Which player was it last year? Was it Nolan Smith or Jalen Carter? Or he called up one of the Georgia guys, and it was
killing me.
It's killing me to take.
Right,
Yeah.
I know, but like that's the thing is like, he went to Florida, but it hasn't really like mattered lately.
Well, you know what that speaks to? How tough that program's had it in recent years. Although, what he should do is he should get on the phone with the Falcons and get Kyle Pitts and bring him back here.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what I would do. But
all right,
Howie's not asking me for my opinion.
All right, well, that'll do it. As we have crowned our champion, Jerome Baker is the Quacketology winner. Now, he's available to be signed any day. It would be great if the Eagles could do that this weekend and really make us look great. But that'll do it for this full week of free agency preview. Anything else on your mind, Zach, that you want to just get on the record? Because the next time we talk, barring an emergency podcast this weekend, will be Monday at noon. As the tampering period opens, we are going to be live for 36 hours in a row.
No, we're not.
It's going to be
we're not.
Probably
no,
more
we're
like
not.
4 hours.
No, we're not.
But we're going to be live throughout the whole thing. It can be a sort of a watch along as we all refresh our Twitter feeds and talk about what's going on. But anything else to get on the record?
Yeah,
do you think we'll have Haason Reddick news before Monday?
No, I don't think we're going to have Haason Reddick news before Monday. The Haason Reddick market might be dictated, by the way, by what the top edge rushers do. Like, if a team like Arizona wants to get Jonathan Grenard and they can't get him, then maybe they're in the market for Reddick. If a team like Detroit wants to get, I don't know, Bryce Huff, I don't know if they've been connected to Huff, but then that would be, if they don't get him, maybe then they're in the market. So that's one thing there. Pay attention to that. There are signings that could happen this weekend. Typically, though, for free agents, if you're signing this weekend, you're staying with your own team. That's something we've seen in the past. We saw it yesterday with Drew Tranquil. Other guys, if you're on the market now and you haven't signed yet, you're kind of waiting to see what the market looks like, some other shoes to fall. A few things I would just say real quick is there are positions like safety and linebacker and running back where there's a lot of options on the market, and those positions, the market might come down a bit, or it could be a situation where a few guys get paid quickly and the other guys don't want to be lingering around. Then there are other positions such as wide receiver, cornerback, edge rusher, where there are limited. So if you want to get a difference maker, you got to act very quickly. Like if you're looking at safety, if you don't sign one of the top guys, there's a chance 5 days in you can sign a safety. If you're looking at an edge rusher, those guys are going to be off the board within the first 30 minutes of the show, perhaps.
The very top, but the edge rusher is deep, though. I think you'll be able to add an edge rusher in the middle of free agency.
Fair enough. But I think I would pay attention to what happens with trades, and then like any, I always say during draft, the quarterbacks dictate this, right? So the big thing, like a Kirk Cousins move, is probably the biggest shoe that's going to happen in free agency, and the money that gets allocated to him could affect where cap space is distributed elsewhere. I'm not expecting, I don't know if a Justin Fields trades happens, if a Justin Fields deal happens right away, but you should always pay attention to quarterbacks, the quarterback movement. And there are teams sometimes that have cap space trying to look for a quarterback, and then they have cap space to allocate if they don't get one.
Last thing for you, we know that the Kenneth Murray, Jordyn Brooks conversation got you hot and bothered. I wonder what would happen to you if Russell Wilson signed with the New York Giants. I mean,
a classy player with a classy
faint.
organization. I mean, well, I'll tell you, the man of the year.
We're going to start seeing those buttons coming off.
The man of the year patch that he wears on that jersey. The Giants have had a few of those over the years, right? So,
pathetic.
It's a joke. I know. It is a joke, but no, man. But like Russ flying, commercial out of the Newark airport. If you're the Steelers, you couldn't even. This guy's gonna be your quarterback. You couldn't even get him on a plane. Now I'm not. I don't know how that works in terms of getting like
Mr. Billionaire over here above flying commercial.
No, I don't know how that works. You don't typically see your $250 million quarterback, whatever he is, just like going through security at EWR. But
okay, wow, look at you calling it EWR. Nice. It's real. You're a real travel head.
I can tell you the code for all these airports.
But just
give me an
funny.
airport.
Albuquerque.
Never gone to Albuquerque. Give me another one. It's probably ABQ. It's probably ABQ. Give me another one.
Midway.
Ooh. Okay. You stumped me. I've only gone to Midway once. That was when I was flying back after the playoff game to make sure that I was home in case my wife went into labor.
Which she did, right?
She went in 4 days or 3 days later.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, good showing off. That'll do it for this episode of the PHL.
It begins with an M, I think.
Why? Eagles podcast?
Yeah.
I think it might just be MID, but
okay.
Or
MDW.
MDW.
Like Memorial Day weekend.
Which is nothing compared to President's Day.
No, Memorial Day weekend's more significant to me. My anniversary is Memorial Day weekend, so
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have gone on quite long enough.
Way too long
for this episode. So thank you very much. Although I should ask you about the airport at Epstein's Island, which somebody says in the chat. But,
I don't even know the reference.
You can't be so head in the sand on this. You got to know what's going on.
You seem to know a lot about Jeffrey
I don't
Epstein.
even know that much. I just know what everybody knows.
You bring him up. This is the third time on the show you seem to bring him up. You bring him up a lot.
He's in the zeitgeist.
It's not my zeitgeist. He's in yours.
No, he's in like the cultural zeitgeist. He's a very talked about person. He is a very like.
I'm not running in those circles that talks about him. That's all I'm saying.
It's not like people are talking about him with reverence.
If I Googled, or I could do a text search. All my texts since the life of my iCloud or whatever. And if I look at Epstein,
you got a lot.
I have Bo and Marissa here. Great. Now we finally have the excuse to talk Epstein on the pod. That's a text from Bo. Okay. Yeah. So that's we have here you go in August 2019. Question for Sheil on the "Don't Get Bo Fired" beat.
Who's saying who?
This is Bo. Can I read this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Should I leave the Jeffrey Epstein joke in the podcast we just recorded? So it seems that you make Jeffrey Epstein jokes quite a bit. I have the only Epstein that I'm talking. I mean, there's Epsteins in the media who there's a great writer, Jory Epstein.
Sure.
So she's the Epstein that comes up on my phone. But there's nothing about here. I got.
But that doesn't mean that you need to pretend like you don't know who he is.
He's not part of my thinking. Yeah, I don't.
It's
know
interesting
much about
because you're familiar with so many influential people, like these high rolling people. You don't even.
What does that have to do with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, a lot of them have probably been on the flight logs.
I'll defer to you on that one.
Okay. This doesn't make you like a more noble person to not know.
Theo Epstein, the best general manager in sports history. Yes. I've talked about Theo quite a bit. Big admirer of Theo. Don't know anything about Jeffrey.
He's no Bob Myers.
Oh, well, those two are great, but I would take Theo over Bob Myers for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. He's won it twice.
Won what? The Nobel Peace Prize?
The World Series.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We may talk to you this weekend, but if not, get buckled up for a nice long one on Monday. And that's all we got. Congratulations to Jerome Baker and his entire family on joining the ranks of the Quacketology champions. For Julia and Zach, I'm Bo. We thank you for listening. Talk to you later. And as always, we love you.